How can you want to impose democracy by killing millions of people? That's dictatorship, that's not democracy. It can't be imposed. Those who call themselves Democrats. But look, we've seen scenes where people were prevented from entering assemblies. We've seen scenes where forces stormed into assemblies to force the deputies to pass legislation. We've seen scenes worse than that, where people kill their protesters, yet they call themselves Democrats, and we are labeled as coup plotters. If this is democracy, I repeat, we do not want this democracy. And when you often see the incompetent, they don't seek to understand what the word democracy really means. They just cling to the definition he gave imperialism, and they start talking of democracy without really knowing the foundation. That's incompetence. We need to seek knowledge, to understand, to look at the world in order to redefine democracy the way we want it in Africa.
Comrades of the various governments of the AES, dear participants of the first summit of the heads of state of the IAS, good morning. It is a great pleasure and an honor to be here today. A blessed date, a memorable date, the CIG 2024 here in Niamey. First of all, let us give thanks to God who allowed this day to be. We thank Him for everything He has done for us until today and everything He will do for the people of the AES. Let me also pay tribute to the Nigerian people. This people who have suffered so much since the advent of the CIG and who continue to stand up. Thank you to the Nigerians who gave us a warm welcome yesterday when we swept the soil of our homeland here. You are more than friends. You are more than neighbors. You are our brothers. You are our sisters. Because brotherhood goes beyond friendship or neighborhood. We have the same blood that flows in our veins. In our veins flows the blood of these valiant warriors who fought and reserved this land that we call Mali, Burkina, and Niger. In our veins flows the blood of these valiant warriors who helped the whole world get rid of Nazism and many other plagues. In our veins flows the blood of these valiant warriors who were deported from Africa to Europe, America, Asia, or elsewhere, and who helped build these states during slavery. In our veins flows the blood of worthy men, robust men, standing men. And for this, let us be proud and be grateful for being descendants of the AES. Africa, this continent that has suffered so much and continues to suffer because of imperialists. These imperialists have only one cliché in mind. Africa is the empire of slaves. This is how they see Africa. For them, Africans belong to them. Our lands belong to them. Our subsoils belong to them. They have never been able to change the logic until today. This is deplorable. But how do they proceed? Unfortunately, it is since the 1960s when these 6 miracles of independence were given to Africa. They just placed local valets at the head, according to them, of their sub-prefecture to be able to continue to feed them. These local valets that we are going to call slaves of Salon have no other purpose than to seek to live like the master to satisfy the master and to do everything that the master dictates to them. They steal, they plunder our states, they bring everything to the master, and their wealth is kept with the master. They do everything to live like the master and always satisfy him. When the master commands, they execute. Do you know who these slaves of Salon are? Well, we are going to explain to you what they are. These are individuals who have no dignity, who have no morals, who have no personality. But the slave master has always known how to identify these individuals. They are always ready to betray their brother to satisfy the master. They have betrayed us since independence, and others continue to betray us to the benefit of their master. These individuals continue against all odds to plunder Africa, to help the master plunder Africa. They like to say it every year in their economic poll that Burkina is the poorest country, that Mali is the poorest country, that Niger is the poorest country. We are ranked among the last. Very well if we are as poor as they say, but when the time has come to take responsibility, we have asked this master to leave the place. Why don't they want to leave? When we take the case of Niger, for more than 40 years, some countries have been exploiting uranium to produce energy at home. From Ottawa to Paris, the streets are illuminated. It is the light. But in Niger, it is the darkness that has served us. When you leave our states, our soils are full of precious metals, such as gold. But often there is not even the slightest access road to reach the areas where they exploit gold, even less certain basic social services. This is why we have decided to revolt and to take the fate of our countries into our own hands. There are many other examples. But when we decided this way, well, we were approached by some saloon slaves to pass on the message of their master. Because they had created this kind of polymer chain that rises to the heads of our states to serve them. And we came to break the chain. And it is inconceivable for them. They approached us and asked us to enter the ranks to be part of the elite that must lead Africa. Because they have an elite formed and trained that must follow, that are embedded in this chain. We refused to enter their ranks, and from then on, the hostilities began. They made several mercenaries, deformers, agents to come down to the Sahel to lead barbaric, cowardly attacks against our people, hoping to revolt them. In addition to these attacks on the ground, the communication attacks, the manipulation, the disinformation are full in their ranks. But the people of the Sahel have understood that we will never be able to manipulate them again. They know where they come from, they know what they do, and they know where they are going. We will no longer allow this. People are awake, and people are fighting today, not for ourselves, but for future generations. And thank you all for the fight that has been fought. This never makes us cry. We will not tremble. We will face. We will fight for real independence, for our freedom. Because to frighten the people of the Sahel, these individuals have only 3 words in their mouths: democracy, freedom, human rights. Of course, their local values are only elected in a democratic, free and transparent process according to their values. What is more normal than to impose this on us? Because they are the ones who write the rules. Very well. We have decided to take responsibility. This is why, on June 26, 2023, when Niger decided to turn the page, the slaves of Salon and their masters got on their horses. They put their local values forward and decided to wage a war against the Nigerian people. We therefore said anyone who dares to take up arms in Nigeria will face us. Because we will wage a war without mercy to the last drop of blood for anyone who dares to attack our states. This word, this decision we made yesterday, is current today and will be current tomorrow and forever. Thus, we won the EIS on September 16, 2023, in a mutual defense architecture. But we felt it was necessary to extend and expand the EIS architecture. What brings us together today must allow us to go to other areas in addition to defense, including finance and economy, infrastructure, health, education, and so on. I therefore wish this moment to be for us a story that we will write for the EIS, but above all, for Africa and for the whole world. May God illuminate each and every one of us. May God inspire us in the tasks entrusted to us. And above all, when we do all our work, may we have only one thing in mind, the supreme interest of our populations. On this, we once again pray good God that He accompanies us all in our different tasks, that He protects our fighters, who thanks to them allow us to sit here and exchange about the future of our states. So once again, thank you, Nigerian people. Be united and united as one, people of the EAS, the homeland, or the death.
Elect our governors, we'll have our ministers. That will happen, but they are not bothered. After we have elected them, you'll then see them sending their arrows ahead. You'll see Bill Gates come and meet your president. You'll see Tony Blair come and meet your president. You'll see Macron come and meet your president. You'll see all of them. And then they will never admit, but they'll be told, if you want money in agriculture, behave this way. If you want money in this area, behave this way. They will never tell that to the Chinese. They will never tell that to the Indians. They will never tell that to the Vietnamese. They will never tell that to the Koreans, but in Africa, they tell us. That is why, as I speak to you now, under this new scramble, the IMF and the World Bank are back, telling you who to hire in your universities, what to sell and what not to sell. It is a sad situation. So today, as I look at Africa in that new scramble, the Chinese are here. I hope that this institution was not built by the Chinese. The Turks are here. The British are here. The French are here. The Qataris are here. The Americans are here. This time round, they are so subtle that we don't even recognize them, but they control us. What are we going to do about it in order to develop We must do something. And if we don't do that thing else, you who have been trained in this institution, you have traveled the world. You have traveled Nigeria. There are two things that you can do with your traveling. You can marvel. Says it is great in China. You can marvel. You can wonder or feel pain. I'm urging you to feel pain. To feel pain for the continent of Africa, and in your own way, when you go out there, go and do something about it, because it has also been demonstrated that it can be done. I've traveled across this continent and I've seen that development is possible. I was in Rwanda before 1994. I was in Rwanda in 1996. Genocide. 1 million dead. Its obituary written. Will never rise, they said. You go to Rwanda now. They are demonstrating that it can be done. Go to Kigali now. See what they are doing in the health sector in their own small way. See how they are collaborating in the area of mobile telephony in their own small way. It can be done. I've been to Botswana and I've seen what they are doing in their own small way. I've been to Mauritius, see what they are doing in their own small way. And they do not have the resources that other countries have. They do not have the resources that the Democratic Republic of Congo has. And I'm giving these examples to say that indeed it can be done, and it can be done within the continent of Africa. So what we must do is to begin to pull together, you know. As I've been sitting and listening, I was also struggling to have internet in this room. And every effort was being made to connect me to internet. And all those efforts failed. Why? Because we are in an era of the Internet of Things. We are in an era of nanotechnology. It cannot be right that in Africa's largest economy, in Nigeria, I do not have internet at an institution that deals with security. You get the point that I'm trying to make? It cannot be right. And I know why we don't have internet connectivity. It is because we are divided. We have 55 telephone access codes. Nigeria 234, Ghana 233, Kenya 254, Tanzania 255, Uganda 256, Zambia 260, Zimbabwe 263. How can we, in this day and age, you cross into Benin, you cross into Togo, you cross into Guinea-Bissau, you have a different internet connectivity. Why can't Africa have a single satellite and a single telephone code, so that when I travel from Mogadishu in Somalia to Dhaka in Senegal, like the Chinese do, like the Americans do, like the Indians do, we can have the same, because communication is critical to development. And I'm saying this, part of my agenda is to prick your conscience with live examples, that you may go out there irritated, but irritated to do the right thing. And I'm suggesting that indeed, when we talk about development, this is what we must do. But is Africa conscious of her state? Yes, Africa is conscious. This is what makes me happy. That after all these analysis, it appears to me that Africans have now recognized that going forward, We can only defeat the conspiracies. We can only have development as we are talking about it by working as a team. And that is why beyond the Millennium Development Goals, beyond the Sustainable Development Goals, we as Africans under the aegis of the African Union do now have our grand vision of Africa Agenda 2063. And that Africa Agenda 2063, let me tell you, if we can fulfill it, many of you here will be upstairs by the year 2063. But our contribution, perhaps you do not know what I mean upstairs, not up. You will be with the Lord himself. But the most important thing is that Africans are now beginning to see beyond the next election. Because part of our problem in Africa has been that we plan in 5-year circles. We don't have a grand agenda, but now we have a grand agenda. And if you look at the 7 pillars of Africa Agenda 2063, everything is covered. Health is covered. Research and science is covered. Climate change is covered. Women's participation is covered. Democracy and governance is covered. The arts and the culture are covered so that Africa can become a serious player in the international agenda. As we speak now, we are not a serious player. You know, and I say this perhaps too often, but I must repeat it because it is important. I was looking at the GDP of Indonesia. The GDP of Indonesia this year, by the end of this year, will be 1.1 trillion United States dollars. Indonesia is the 17th largest economy in the world using all critical indices. It's amongst the G20. The population is about 200 million, just about Nigeria. Nigeria is a GDP give and take at the very best of 550 billion United States dollars. I'm looking at the power generation in Nigeria. At the very best, you generate about 17,000 megawatts. You lose about half of it, so that what goes into the grid is no more than 8,000 to 7,500 megawatts into your GDP. You are the biggest economy in the world. If you look at Iran, Iran generates 75,000 megawatts. So when we talk about industrialization, we are not even close to industrialization. Look at the diversity of power generation that you have. Most of it is hydro. You are not harnessing your solar. The Kainji dams and the other dams with climate change are going to dry. If you look at the major rivers, it means that you are going to be in trouble. You look at Zimbabwe now, for example, in power generation, 2,000 or give it 2,500 megawatts. The dams are drying, the Kariba is drying. So Africa must begin to think, even as we think of Africa Agenda 2063, because energy is the game changer. Without energy, all these generators you see everywhere in Nigeria must disappear for industrialization to come. And in many African countries, including my own country, Kenya, which generates, I think we have about slightly under 3,000 megawatts. You can't. You can't. So we must go to Inga Dam. We must begin to generate. We must go to Egypt at the Aswan High. Egypt is not doing very badly. We must go to Inga, produce 40,000 megawatts. We must go to Ethiopia, the Grand Renaissance Dam, produce 10,000 megawatts. Then we talk of industrialization. And why do I talk about industrialization? There are scientists here. It is only through industrialization that we are going to be manufacturers in all sectors. As it is now, 80% of what we consume in manufactured goods are from China. If China closes shop, we are dead. We are dead. So I'm thinking that Africa Agenda 2063 is a good thing, but we must work at it. I'm thinking that Africa Continental Free Trade Area is a good thing. Launched with the Secretariat in Accra, Ghana, a good thing. But how are we going to trade? How are we going to get somebody to drive a truck from Accra, Ghana, to Juba or to Asmara in Eritrea without peace and security. So you can also see that peace and security is at the very heart of it. In the United States of America, and many of you are familiar, you can drive a truck from Florida through to Alberta in Canada, and it is safe. The roads are good, the security is there. I'm saying, therefore, that as we talk about development, we must think about development in a very comprehensive manner. We must ask ourselves how we govern. And I want to conclude my presentation to you by telling you that Africa must be very careful. We must be very careful because of lack of resources in Africa, I'm beginning to hear things that worry me. And because I'm a keen student of what is happening in Africa, I'm getting worried on a daily basis. The forces that divide us, the belief by many people in Africa that if we separated from our current countries, we would be better. It is beginning to happen. It is happening here in Nigeria. It is happening. I saw a letter last week addressed to the president of Zambia by a people in Zambia called Baroseland. And they are telling President Hakainde Hichilema that you remember in 1964 we had an agreement with the Lusaka government that the time has now come for Baroseland to become an independent country. Can you believe it? I hear people in Namibia saying, do you remember that there was a strip called the Caprivi Strip? I hear people in Ghana saying that you remember that in the Volta region we had a different country. I hear people in Zimbabwe saying that there should be a country called Mtuakazi. I hear people in South Africa, the South Africans, saying that we should have a separate country in the Western Cape. I hear people in Ethiopia saying we should have Tigray and Oromo. The centrifugal forces are there. And the only way to bring them in is to create a sense of belongingness. The people must feel that they are part of it. I remember the words of John Garang of South Sudan when he spoke in Khartoum. He told the Numeri government, we do not want to create a separate state, but make unity attractive. Make unity attractive, make Sudan attractive, make Khartoum attractive, because if you don't make it attractive, we will separate, and that will make us weaker. And I'm saying this because of this thing we call democracy. Democracy demands that people have a sense of belonging and that they believe that the country in which they live represents their interests and that deliberate efforts are being made in that regard. So, fellow Africans, I'm one who believes that this continent has a contribution to make. There is not a continent today that has the natural resources that this continent has. Not one. There is not a continent today that has a population as young as ours, which could be a resource. There is not a continent. There is not a continent today that has the resources in different diverse ways which can be harnessed. With a population of 1.4 billion, we are a potential market. But we must also warn ourselves. I am aware that you are talking about climate change. It is only through unity, therefore, that we can fight all these. Our rivers are drying. Lake Chad has shrunk by nearly 1/3. The rivers are drying. The climate is changing. The Sahara is coming down south. The rivers down are drying or getting polluted. Our farms are not yielding the way they were yielding before. Our seeds are being destroyed. Our young men and women are running away. And remember, the Germans are now saying, we want young people. The Canadians are saying, we want young people. We are in danger. You who have been trained in this institution, now go back to your countries and tell your countries that yes, there is a conspiracy against the continent of Africa, but the human relationship, is it not about conspiracy? Even in families, are there not conspiracies? Is it not our duty to fight and defeat those conspiracies so that that is no longer an excuse? Go out there and say that we have the possibilities and that these possibilities require and demand that we look at Africa as a total whole. Go out there in your little ways and make your contribution. The 78 of you who are graduating here today, I'm suggesting to you that development must start with you. Go back and let in every institution where you are, let it be said that since he came back from NISS, he or she is different. He is different in a positive way. And all of us who are here, whether we are politicians or academics and in different sectors, let us go out there having made a solemn vow that Africa must do it. If you can't do it for yourself, ask yourself which Nigeria you want to bequeath to your children and your children's children. You are here, maximum 40 years, you will have gone upstairs. But after 40 years, in which kind of country will you want your children to be? This is the question. It is not about you and me. It is about them. This is intergenerational. Africa must change. Africa can change. And it can only change if we change our minds. And our minds we must change. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much and God bless.
Hi guys, welcome back once again to my YouTube channel. If it was the first time you're coming across my video, don't forget to like this video, subscribe and share. And to my returning subscribers, thank you so much for the love and support. Thank you so much for coming and viewing my clips back. So guys, in today's clip, it's all about Ibrahim Traore. We all know President Ibrahim Traore is the president of Burkina Faso, and he is known for fighting for the rights of black people. Is that one kind of a president who really knows how to fight for his black people and how to fight for his country? Earlier on, people said that Ibrahim Traore was a dictator because of how he took power in Burkina Faso, but since President Ibrahim Traore took the seat, he has run for seat in less than maybe like 3 years, but he has really done a lot to Burkina Faso. He has really managed to make some projects, and those projects are being successful. He has done a lot of things in a span of 2 years compared to other African leaders who have been in leadership for more than like 15 years. He has really done a lot to his people, and this really shows how President Ibrahim Traore loves his country and loves his people. We all know he's known for fighting for the rights of black people, and this is the kind of president we really want. We want that one kind of a president who really knows what his people want and who really knows what he's doing for his country. A lot of people really came out and said that Ibrahim Traore maybe is a bad leader, but he has proven a lot of people wrong by doing so much thing for his country, by doing a lot. And we have all seen how he removed all colonial system. He cut off all the dictatorship that were in his country. He cut ties with France because he felt that France were really benefiting a lot from Burkina Faso more than the local people. We all know African is believed to be among the poorest, even not among, it's believed to be the poorest continent on the world. But how comes African is among the richest? It has resources. African has a lot of resources. We have minerals, we have gold, we have everything. And I really wonder where these Western countries could be without Africa. But it has come to the attention that Africa is among the richest continent in the world, but a lot of people really know, or it's being the poor because of how there is a lot of greedy leaders and puppet leaders who really depend on these Western countries, because these Western countries, they are just coming to Africa and they are exploiting the resources, whereby they are the one who are benefiting from them rather than the African countries. We all know Africa is among the richest continent on the world, but it's being ranked as the poorest continent on earth, but it has resources. So President Ibrahim Traore has really done a lot to Burkina Faso people, and this is the kind of president we really want. A true captain, a true definition of a leader. He truly leads with his heart. He truly leads by the will of his people. We all seen how he's doing things, how he's making projects to be successful. And I would really like other leaders to copy us. I would really like other leaders, because some people have really came out and they said that President Ibrahim Traore is following the footsteps of Thomas Sankara. We all know Thomas Sankara was a leader of Burkina Faso, but he was killed. But President Ibrahim Traore, what we are really doing as African people, we are just praying for him, so that at least God can protect him, so that at least he can be able to rule Burkina Faso in a good way, so that at least other leaders can copy what he is really doing, because he is truly a young leader, but he has really done a lot. One thing I really love about Ibrahim Traore is calling out African leaders, is calling her out African people, black people, to unite together as one, because we all know if we unite, we'll be stronger. If African can unite and we speak the same language, we can be stronger, because we'll be trading with one another. We won't be able to benefit from these other Western countries, because we have everything. And I've all seen how some African leaders are being waking up. We want our leaders to do the right thing. Look at the president of Barbados, Mia. Is doing the right thing for fighting for the rights of black people. All the Caribbean, all African, we should unite together as one, so that at least we can be our own conquerors. For how long we'll be able to be depending on this Western country? We have to rise up to reach at a point whereby we are depending on ourselves. There is so much countries that have gained independence in more than 60 years. 60 years of independence, but we still depending on other countries. We're still going to borrow some amount of money. We are owing a lot of money to these Western countries, whereby if we fail to pay, they can come to our country and grab anything. And by our leaders borrowing so much money, it really costs the local people, because we are the one we are paying high taxes, because we must pay high taxes so that at least we can be able to pay these debts. But it's high time for our African leaders to rise up, to wake up, not to be greedy leaders, not to be puppets, not to be selfish. They should do what those good leaders they are doing, like Mia, like President Ibrahim Traore. They should note down what these leaders or these great leaders they are doing, so that at least we can make Africa a better place again. At least we can remove that settlement on people that Africa is the most poorest country on the world, but in real sense it's among the richest, because we have everything. We are producing everything. We have a lot of things that can make us rich. We have oil, the most valuable thing on earth. We have minerals, we have gold, everything. All these Western countries are depending on us, but in real sense we are coming slaves to them. Our puppet leaders, they are doing everything to make Africa to be slave to this country, but we should rise up, because a lot of leaders have started to wake up. We should rise up. We open our eyes, so that at least we can unite together as one and make Africa a better place. We make black people a better place. We have all seen what's really happening in United States of America. All illegal immigrants are being deported by President Donald Trump. Whether you are criminal or not, you are being deported back to your country. And this really shows that it's just a kind of lesson to those people who are being deported back, to go back to their countries, so that at least they can make their government to be better, not to depend on other countries. Some people are saying maybe Donald Trump is doing a bad thing, but at the other hand, he's also doing a better thing, maybe to stabilize the economy of his country. But at the other hand, also, he's not doing a good thing. But He is just trying to make African leaders to wake up so that at least these people can go back to the country to make their government to be better, to make their country to be better like United States, to stop depending on other countries to be employed. They should go back to the countries, make their leader to be better leaders, to choose better leaders, so that at least they can depend on their countries. So guys, if it was the first time you come across my video, don't forget to like this video, subscribe and share. Thank you so much for your time. May God bless you.